So I discovered this film for the first time literally like a week ago. Shout out to Mood 616 and his 31 days of horror episodes. And this is Mutant Blast. This is a Portuguese film. Shout out to my Portuguese hat. And there's not a lot of films, first of all, that come out of Portugal, let alone horror films, and let alone good ones, to be 100% awesome, honest. But I always check them out. I love Portuguese cinema and Brazilian cinema because I don't need the subtitles, at least for the most part. Usually I could get by with like 70 to 80% of it without any subs. But regardless, this one sounded right up my alley. This is a trauma film. And they're also hit and miss themselves. So I heard like really great praise on this though, and from the sounds of the film, it definitely sounded a little bit up my alley. And I found out that it was on Tubi. So if you're watching it on Tubi though, it doesn't come with subtitles. It comes with Spanish subtitles, so there's no English subtitles on it at all. And this film is partially in French as well, which I wasn't able to catch because the subtitles were Spanish, and I don't speak French. So it's about like 20% of the movie though. The rest is in Portuguese, and if you want English subtitles, you're gonna have to find it somewhere else other than Tubi. However, this is this is a wild film, and it is hilarious with It's strange because its budget is actually quite high. Like it's not as cheap as other trauma films. Now it feels like a trauma film. Once you get into it, you definitely can see Lloyd Kaufman's, you know, fingerprint kind of thing on this film. And essentially, it's like post-apocalyptic nuclear zombie film. Essentially, you have this lab that is doing a bunch of experiments on people, and they're doing like basically underground shit. And it starts off, and this woman named Maria is like escaping the lab with this, I guess, man, you know, huge dude that they were experimenting on. He literally walks like this. He walks like the Terminator. He's shirtless, and his like pecs are up to here, and he just literally walks like this the whole time, as if he like can't put his he can't close his arms together. It's absolutely hilarious. And the first half of the film plays out basically like a zombie movie. They're shooting down zombies, and it's basically a post-apocalyptic world. This film borrows a lot of elements I noticed from 28 Days Later. There's even a segment that says 28 hours later, which is taken from that movie. And when the main guy, Pedro, is walking down the streets, it's shot like 28 Days Later, and it just took a lot of inspiration. You can tell with the music as well. And then in the second half of the film, it turns a little bit more like nuclear radiation style, where like the governors of I guess Portugal. I'm guessing this takes place in Portugal. I would assume is like sending a bunch of nukes, and one of them accidentally sends. They were supposed to send like 10 or something, but he sends way more, and the radiation and the explosions have everyone basically mutate in the most ridiculous ways, and the animals and the people are like sprouting limbs, and the girl grows like an ear on her neck, and there's these really funny looking mutant ducks that have teeth, and everything is just over the top insane. One dude has a hand coming out of his friggin' head, and it's great. The gore is fantastic. Like I said, it's high budgeted practical effects, and the practical effects are so good, and they literally make the movie. There's head stomps galore on the zombies and on humans sometimes, and when somebody stomps on somebody's head, it it just looks great. It's like it splatters, and the way the skin comes apart and everything. It just you have to see it to understand. It's so well done, and there's a lot of time and effort put into this film. I actually found it very interesting that at the end of the film, when just before the credits, it says a film by, and usually it would say the director, but in this one the director was so kind to say a film by basically everybody in the movie, including the actors and the producers, director himself, editor, everybody. So it was like a list of names of like 30 names. It was really cool. I found that really neat, and I've never seen that in a film before. But yeah, there's hilarious sequences. At one point, there's this mutant lobster and this mutant dolphin that end up having a fight on the beach, and the dolphin is like a samurai dolphin. So, like I said, they go over the top, and you can tell this is a trauma production with that kind of humor and stuff like that, and everything just looks ridiculous, but ridiculous in like the best way kind of thing. There's some dream sequences too that almost felt like I was watching a totally different movie when they would happen, because they're closer to the beginning usually, but he ends up dreaming where he runs into this like mystical woman, and he needs to take a boat ride, but she says he can't get on the boat unless he pays her like a bunch of money. And then they boat off to this castle, and he starts fighting like a bunch of like, I'm like, it just straight up turned into a fantasy. I'm like, this is the same movie, right? But then I'm like, oh, it's got to be a dream sequence, and it ended up being. But yeah, man, it's like this film surprised me. I mean, guilty pleasure or not, I gave it a 5 out of 5, and I don't give a fuck if the French parts I couldn't understand because there was no English subs on the French parts, but that was just a small little bit that I missed. And with the Spanish subtitles, I could get by enough to kind of wrap my head around some stuff because they are similar enough to the Portuguese language. But I still had a blast. Like, I got through the whole thing no problem. The humor is great, and the violence is phenomenal, and it has that like if you like your Italian cinema, like if you like your Mario Bavas, if you like your Robo Wars, your 80s and 90s cheesy Italian action rip-off movies that always had those epic scores and epic soundtracks and themes to them. This fits right into those films, except Portuguese instead of Italian, and it just has that vibe all over it. A little bit, if anybody's seen Turbo Kid, the costume design kind of reminded me of Turbo Kid a little bit, with like kind of like the goofy home video look to it, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed all the set pieces, costume designs, even though they looked and felt cheap. They looked and felt cheap with the charm that trauma movies usually have. So if you're a fan of what it is, if you're a fan of what it has to deliver, like I said, with like Italian giallo and Italian, not giallo, but Italian action movies, the really really cheesy ones, the like Warriors of 2072 and stuff like that, you'll have a kick with this one for sure. And of course, if you like trauma movies specifically, this is in like the top tier trauma in my very humble opinion. I friggin' love this one, and this is, I mean, easily in the top 10 trauma films if I do say so myself. So yeah, it's great. It's so good. So check it out wherever you can, and high recommendation from me. And once again, thank you to Mood616 for showing it to me, because if it wasn't for channels like his and so many others, I would have never discovered these films in my life. So good on that. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you'd like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I will be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.